no place quite like it in world rugby. 62,000 crammed into this famous old grounds. And the skipper has scored. St. Kate's and Tokiaho scores. Try number 2. The pass. Harvey scores. Oh, that wins the game. And the All Blacks have silenced the critics.
They have done, haven't they, the All Blacks? Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening. Welcome into the breakdown. Well, Ian Foster said during the week he felt something special was brewing, and special is exactly what we saw at Ellis Park this morning. Great to have you joining us today to dissect it, to put it into perspective, to offer some analysis and commentary. Mills Muliaina, Isa Nathiwa, Isaac Boss. Gentlemen, great to have you three on the panel. Just explain to us how they managed to do that, Mills, going to the hardest place in the world to play, to come from behind with a man down when your backs are against the wall and people are attacking your captain and your coach, and to win over there. Explain how they did that.
Oh, man, I honestly don't know. They did it through heart, heart and determination. They stuck together. I want to emphasise the fact what you mentioned. That it's so difficult to go over to Ellis Park and win, regardless of whether you're down in sort of confidence or you're up in confidence. This was a hard-fought victory, and they stuck to their guns, guys, but they also tactically were very accurate.
I just think, like, what a phenomenal occasion. There's always the likes of the great Sean Fitzpatrick talking about going to Ellis Park, getting wins in history. These guys that got an opportunity and actually went out there in a cauldron, in an absolute phenomenal atmosphere, actually went away and delivered. So this can't go unnoticed. Even through history, they'll talk about this game.
And they were young, inexperienced. A lot of them, had not played at that level of that ground. And
a flyover. How good is a flyover?
Oh man, this is how passionate they are. They have a flyover, in a test match, to go there in a hostile environment. But also, I think what they've been under these last 3 weeks, as a team, as a coach, as a captain, they have been. I've never seen this ever before, and the way it sort of played out like this, and to go over to Ellis Park and do what they done, absolutely amazing.
How big was that performance in the grand scheme of things? How important was that result?
Oh, you talk about the adversity they've faced, all these losses up till now. Like you said, 3 in a row, 10 minutes to go. The guy that's come on to win you the game, and he's gone off. And, who do you look to? They look to each other. They trusted each other. And that last 13, 14 minutes, I was like, that was superb. They're like that, just coming from the depths, and just showed that they're all there for each other, I thought, and that's a great thing.
I can't actually remember a week of a build-up to a test match that's actually like we've just seen. And for them to then go out and deliver, and then the smiles on their faces, and all the families back here that had their sons, out there playing and debuting in these performances is pretty phenomenal. But I haven't had an actual week like this to lead into a game like this.
It's almost like a soap opera, isn't it? I mean, the drama that sort of has come in the last 3 weeks, and finally, the heroes have won it. We've done it. They've saved the day, and everyone in New Zealand can be happy for another couple of weeks.
Yes, we can, because it's a couple of weeks before our next challenge comes up. But we will celebrate this for now. Who was it that stood out for you? Rieko Ioane was named man of the match. There were changes heading into this game. Who was the impressive performances, Mills?
Oh, for me, it would have to be their leaders. So I think to come out and play the way they played, particularly in that first half, they blew the Springboks off the park. They looked tired, from what they were sort of producing. 15 points up, and that's a decent lead, but that also grows in confidence. So for me, it's the guys that are under the most pressure that had to perform. Your Aaron Smiths, your Sam Cane, the captain, right through. David Havili too, for me, stood up. He's really starting to firm up that position. So a lot of them did stand up, and what I was really impressed about is they were all on the same page. They knew what they were going into, they knew what sort of game they were going to play, and they went out there and did it collectively, which we haven't seen that in the last 3 weeks.
I think there's always that question mark around what the midfield is and how the connection actually grows, but I think Rieko and David Havili took a massive step. For me, like Lomax, De Groot, Taukeiaho, Havili, these guys were given an opportunity in one of the toughest stadiums on earth to actually go and play. And, they actually just grabbed it and they ran with it, and they will learn so much. We sort of said last week, they can't be judged on if they had a loss, but for their own individual performances, the guys that actually got an opportunity, it's pretty phenomenal that they got out there and did it where they did it.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't say that, like, right from the start, you could see there was a little bit of that sense of pressure. So they had to build into it. It's not something that just came, naturally. So they found a way. They were asked so many questions at different times in that match. And you know, it was a different person coming up with an answer every time. You know, it was brilliant. There's leaders that grew within that group in that match at Ellis Park.
For South Africa, they look like a different team to what we saw a week ago, but one man that was the shining light, Lukhanyo he's getting accolades all over the world. People are saying this is the best player in the world right now, Mills.
Oh, he carved it up, man, in those last few minutes, the try that he scored. I mean, he broke through here. This was a big moment in the game as well, because it came back and it was our, you know, the penalty to us. But the way he carved up our broken play and also the way he finished, remarkable. So that's a big positive. He's been there for a while. He's had experience there, but now he's really starting to sort of blossom in that position.
He's really measured and calm. Like, you see him on the field, he knows what he does. He goes out there and delivers, but he's constantly talking to all the guys around him. So it's like signs of a leader that's grown from the last World Cup and through, and just seems to like take on a lot more responsibility.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you chuck him in a back line like they got at the moment, and the skills that they showed there, like their passing skills are unbelievable. Yeah. And you've got Falemza, you've got Mpimpi, and you've got Pollard, you know, you've got Delandi there, who's, you know, there's all top class, and I think he's that X factor in there at the minute. And to be honest, there's a couple of set-piece tries that they got out, and they were just outstanding, you know, they were brilliant.
We will give credit to the All Blacks, but there are people questioning the selection of the Springboks coach. What do you think about that?
Oh, look, why isn't Malcolm Marx out there from the get-go? You know, and this probably still goes back to sort of the quota system maybe that they have, the fact that Benambi got injured and they're still sort of starting someone, but how do you not have Malcolm Marx on the field? His impact immediately when we got on the field, but, you know, it's a pretty intricate and convoluted system they have, probably second to none in the world around how they actually select their team. They know very early on in the week when the team is named, and there's a rigmarole with process that actually goes through that. But, you know, someone like Malcolm Marx and the influences that he has, you've got to have him on the field.
Well, the All Blacks just the better team on the day at Ellis Park, and our experts, our analysts, Jeff Wilson and Brian Habana, joins us from Ellis Park.
Well, at the end of another remarkable test match between these two sides, Brian Habana joins me, and look, it was a special night. The Freedom Cup was on the line. The All Blacks were under all sorts of pressure, and we got another fantastic test match. But both sides over the course of these last two weekends will have learnt so much and benefited so much from the challenge that they faced once again. Your reflections of the Springboks over the last 2 weeks?
So I think last week what we saw was a Springbok team that physically dominated, both in the contact at the breakdown, won the contact in the air, was able to win the kicking game. And I think we saw a little bit of a deflation in that energy level tonight. Controversially, we saw an All Black team that was wounded, had the backs against the wall, came out here and physically, you know, from the first minute, put themselves into play. You know, incredibly led, in my opinion, by Shannon Frizzell, who getting over the gain line. Artie Severe was an immense nuisance at the breakdown, and it was a brilliant game of test match, Footy. It was, I mean, sitting there, it was ebb and flow, but really the best team won on the day, and I think there was a lot of opportunities for both sides, but a classic test match between the All Blacks and the Springboks.
And this is what we come to expect, teams adapting and adjusting from week to week, and clearly the All Blacks worked on their high ball technique. They secured possession so many more times, like only 5 of 15 last week. This week they controlled that position. All of a sudden, territory was so much better for them, and it forced the Springboks to play from deep. But then all of a sudden we saw the Springboks show some things we haven't seen before. Last week they went back to the air. No, they went to the edges. We saw the best of Lukhanyo Arm. Willie LaRue, his impact off the bench so very, very quickly. So there's a lot of questions they might have about how do we maybe balance this back up going forward. And remembering Australia last year in the Rugby Championship gave them all sorts of trouble. So do you now look at those selections? Do you maybe try and grow your game, and do you start maybe doing what you did against Wales, exposing some more players, or is your focus well and truly still on winning a Rugby Championship?
So Jeff, I'm probably very old school. You know, if you have your
we are
very old, we're born before the millennials, so I'm very old school in that if you have an opportunity, and I understand what's the plan in terms of growing a squad for a World Cup, making sure that everyone has tasted international experience. When you have the best hooker in the world sitting on the bench, having to come on after 30 odd minutes, does that sort of deflate the energy? And there was a real decrease in the energy levels from minute one. Controversially, I think the All Blacks really just upped the ante, and they weren't in their shells. They had nothing to lose. Their backs against the wall. 4.5 million people potentially against them. But I think for the Springboks, they showed glimpses of if they can just get their game management right, they have some phenomenal ball players. I mean, Damien Willemse as second receiver, that pass to Makazole Mapimpi, Willie Leroux coming on, being an extra set of hands, Lucanio on the wing was exceptional.
So wouldn't we love to see a third test? Maybe we just got to try and work this one out. 1-1 doesn't seem to work, but I want to finish on this team. I need to bring in Joel Stransky. He's just got a presentation to make. It's not the Freedom Cup. It's a bottle of wine that we bid on. Thank you very much. I don't even want a response. All it says.
It's look, we pay our debts. That's the first thing, but it is thoroughly worthy. You forecast it. You are the oracle of rugby results now. But well done to you and your team. I look forward to sharing this with you a little bit later.
You call me the eternal optimist. It's been fantastic here as well to join with Supersport, to come together with Sky. It's been another remarkable tour.